Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have a deck profile for the deck we took to Locals this past week, being Harpies. We didn't have an official tournament, we just played casual games, but overall the deck did pretty well. We beat Dark Magician 2-0, and we technically tied against Amazonas. He won game 1, I won game 2, and then game 3 never happened because, frankly, he got tired of me dropping Featherstorm on him every chance I got, so game 3 never happened. So you can call it a draw, you can call it a win, since he technically forfeited game 3. Personally, I just call it a draw. But, yeah, here's a look at what the deck looks like on paper, and we'll get to the card by card. Okay, so, kind of like with the Dragoonity one as well, I'm just recording this with one hand and moving the cards with the other, because my tripod is still packed away, so, apologies in advance. So, first, I'm going to talk about the dragon monsters. So we are running 4 total. So we have 1 Harpie's Pet Dragon and then 1 Harpie's Pet Dragon Fearsome Fire Blast. This one is just designed to be a beat stick. Basically, you would summon this off of Alluring Mirror Split whenever one of your Harpie ladies gets destroyed. And it's just a way to kind of punish your opponent for destroying one of your Harpie ladies. This guy is really good, though. So basically, if you control a level 6 or lower Harpie monster, you can special summon it from your hand. So it's a free extender to help climb into the Link 2. And then if it gets sent to the grave, you get to send basically you get to send a Harpie monster from deck to grave. That allows you to send the Harpist, which gets you a search in the end phase. So that's really nice. And then it also has a continuous effect where your opponent can't target level 6 or lower Harpie monsters for attacks. So it helps protect your weaker monsters. We're also running 1 Harpie Lady Sisters. This is for Elegant Egotist, of course. Also, because, I mean, come on. Like, it's Harpie Lady Sisters. Like, come on. How can you not? Alright, moving on to the level 4 monsters. Running 2 copies of Harpie Queen. So, this is a field spell searcher, but it's also just a 1900 normal summon. Of course, boosted with the field spell would be 2100. So you can either search or normal summon it. You're usually going to be using it for the search. Next, 2 copies of Harpie Harpist. So this one is one that you typically don't summon. You typically just dump it to the graveyard with the Fearsome Fire Blast. Because when it's sent to the grave during the end phase, then you can add a level 4 winged beast type monster with 1500 or less attack from deck to hand, which is basically any of your Harpies except for Queen. So that's really nice, just being able to search with what you want. Next is arguably the best normal summon in the entire deck, Harpie Perfumer. So basically this one, when it's normal or special summon, you add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that mentions Harpie Lady Sisters. And then if you have a level 5 or higher Harpie monster, when you activate it, you get to add 2 cards instead. And then, oh, and I forgot to mention, but all of the, like the Harpie Harpist, the Harpie Queen, they all count as Harpie Lady when they're on the field or in the graveyard. That is very important. So I'll probably mention that again, but Perfumer is potentially a double search. So that's really nice. Next is arguably the second best normal summon, being Harpie Channeler. So with this one, you get to discard a Harpie card and you special summon a Harpie monster from your deck in defense position. So that can kind of help you facilitate some of your plays. You can like special summon a Perfumer to get a search. You can summon the Fearsome Fire Blast straight from the deck if you want to go into the Link 2. So yeah, just kind of a flexible option. And then technically, you can also use this for Xyz plays while you control a dragon monster. This card's level becomes 7. I typically don't go for the rank 7 pool. I prefer the rank 4 pool for this deck. But for someone else that wants to add rank 7s, that is a viable option there. Next, 3 copies of Harpie Oracle. So basically, if you have a level 5 or higher Harpie monster, you special summon it from your hand, and if it's summoned, you get to add a spell or trap from your graveyard that adds Harpie Lady Sisters in its text during the end phase. So basically, anything that you can search with Perfumer, you can add back to your hand from the graveyard with Oracle. So it's just good to kind of keep that advantage, keep coming back. Next, 2 copies of Harpie Lady 1. So this one is basically just an attack boost, and then you can also special summon it straight from the deck with Elegant Egotist. It's kind of all it's there for there. Next, moving on to the spells, 3 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground. So this is, of course, the field spell for the deck. It gives all winged beast monsters 200 attack and defense. And then if either a Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters is normal special summoned, the player who summoned it targets a spell or trap on the field and destroys it. That is a mandatory effect. Okay, that is mandatory. But of course, most of the Harpie spells and traps have bonus effects when they get destroyed by such an effect, so we'll get to that shortly. So it's usually not that much of a detriment, in addition to clearing your opponent's back row. Such an example is Alluring Mirror Split. So when a Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters is destroyed by battle, you get special summon a Harpie monster from your deck with a different original name. Alright, so as mentioned before, if one of your different versions of Harpie Lady gets destroyed, then you get to special summon the dragon straight from the deck. And then, if this card is destroyed by a Harpie card's effect, or from your opponent's card effect, you get to revive a Harpie monster from your grave. So, again, just really nice being able to keep advantage going. And then, since this one mentions Harpie Lady Sisters, you can add it back with Oracle. So it's not as big a deal running 3. That's kind of why I run 2. But speaking of running 3, we're running 3 copies of Hysteric Sign. So when this one is activated, you add an Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand. That is mandatory. And then during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there from the hand or field this turn, you get to search for up to 3 Harpie cards with different names from each other. I will say that again. If this card is sent to the graveyard during the end phase, you get to search 3 different Harpie cards. Okay, that is actually really, really good if you're going first. Now, I will also say, though, this one last line of text here, you can only use 1 Hysteric Sign effect per turn and only once that turn. So if you hard activate it and search the Elegant Egotist and then pop it, you won't get the search. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will just set it face down, then start doing my plays with like the field spell and everything, pop this, so then I can get the search. But yeah, so this is an awesome card for the deck. Really, really nice. Next, moving into some of the lower numbered spells, running 1 Triangle Ecstasy Spark, 1 Elegant Egotist, and of course the 1 Harpie's Feather Duster. Feather Duster because it is currently limited. If it were, like, say, at 2, I would run 2 of it. I have extra copies just in case. But currently, at the time of recording, it is at 1, so we're just running the 1 right now. Elegant Egotist. Basically, if Harpie Lady's on the field, special summon a Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters from your hand or deck. So that way, if you draw the Harpie Lady Sisters, it's not as big of a deal. And then this serves as any sort of extender. Triangle Ecstasy Spark. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit. I think I might replace this one, actually, because basically it turns Harpie Lady Sisters into a 2700 beat stick and prevents any and all trap cards or effects. You know, which is nice in a way, but I found out when I actually took it to locals that trap cards weren't as present as I thought they were going to be. So I think I'm going to cut this down for a 2nd Elegant Egotist. So that way we can just see that card more often. Next, I'm also running 3 copies of Summon Storm. So basically, you pay 800 life points, special summon a level 6 or lower wind monster from your hand, and then during the main phase of the turn, you know, other than when it's sent to the grave, you can banish it to special summon a level 4 or lower wind monster from your hand. So basically, this is just another way to extend, to try to get to some of your extra deck plays. That's going to be it for the spells. Moving on to the traps. And this is your best target to search with the effect of Hysteric Sign. 3 copies of Harpie's Feather Storm. So, basically, if you control Wind Beast monster, it negates any and all monster effects your opponent activates. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's in the hand, the graveyard, banished. If after you activate this card, they're all negated. And then if you control a Harpie monster, you can activate this card from your hand. Okay, so that is really, really nice. This is, of course, what you want to go for. I'm also running 1 copy of Harpie Lady Elegance. Basically, it does have an activation effect where you shuffle Harpie Lady Sisters from your field into the deck, and then you special summon 3 Harpies, 1 from your hand, deck, and grave. But you're usually not going to do that. You're mainly doing it just for the pop effect, where if it's destroyed by a Harpie card effect, or your opponent's card effect, you get to add a Harpie monster from deck to your hand. So it's mainly just to get advantage off of the field spell having that mandatory destruction. Finally, rounding out the main deck, 2 copies of Hysteric Party. So basically, this is kind of like Soul Charge, but for Harpies. You discard a card, special summon as many copies of Harpie Lady as possible from your graveyard. So, as I mentioned before, all of the quote-unquote spin-offs have this line of text where it says this name becomes Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. So, as I alluded to earlier, it's basically like a Soul Charge, where you just get a whole bunch of monsters at once. And we'll get to why that's so good here in a second. So we're going to go into the extra deck now. First, running 3 copies of Harpie Conductor. So this is, of course, the Link 2 for the deck. It just takes 2 wind monsters. If a Harpie monster you control would be destroyed by a battle card effect, you can destroy a spell or trap you control instead. This, of course, helps facilitate some of the bonus effects of the Harpie spells and traps by destroying them by a Harpie card's effect. And then if another face of Harpie monster you control returns to the hand, you can bounce a special summon monster your opponent controls. That normally doesn't come up all that much. It's mainly for the spell trap protection. Next, 3 copies of Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. So basically, you're not going to be summoning 3 of this, but having 3 is nice just in case there's extra deck shenanigans, something like Cashtira Unicorn or something. So basically, it takes 3 level 4 wind monsters, so it is a very steep investment. However, I would argue that it's actually worth it because it says this card's effects can only be applied and resolved while it has material. While it has material, your opponent cannot target any Harpie monsters with effects or for attacks. So no targeting with effects, and they can't be targeted for attacks. This guy can attack directly, and then he detaches material during each of your end phases. So for 3 turns, he gets to attack directly, so that's 6,000 damage, and then it prevents you from being attacked. So that's kind of why I like to run Hysteric Party, because if I can revive 2 or 3 Harpie Ladies, then I can just go into this guy during the next turn. Like if I do this during the end phase, get this guy next turn, boom. Lots of damage. Next, going into the Cyber Slash Harpie Lady, we're running 3 of her. And honestly, you're gonna be summoning this more often than the Link 2, just from my experience. And that's because basically when your opponent activates a spell or trap, or when anyone activates a spell or trap, you get to bounce an opponent's monster. So that's really nice, just being able to disrupt their play. So you can do it when they activate a spell or trap card or effect, or when you do it, like something like, I don't know, something you can activate from your hand, like Feather Storm. So then they lose their 1 monster and no monster effects for the rest of the turn. And then also it says for this card synchro summon, you treat a Harpie monster you control as a tuner. So that's how you actually summon it, because there's no official tuners. You just get to treat a Harpie as a tuner. Next, going into the more generic monsters now. These just kind of help with additional removal to try to get in additional damage. So running 2 copies of Lightning Chidori. So this just takes 2 level 4 wind monsters. If it's Xyz summon, you put a set card your opponent controls onto the bottom of the deck, and then you can detach a material to target a face-up card that your opponent controls and put it on the top of the deck. So this is just good for both back row and monster removal. So that's kind of nice. We're also running 2 copies of Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. This is a winged beast, so it does actually get a 200 attack boost from the field spell, funny enough. But this is just additional removal. You can detach 2 from the card to target a face-up monster on the field and shuffle into the deck. So, again, just additional monster removal. And then finally, 2 copies of Tornado Dragon. So this just takes any 2 level 4 monsters. Then once per turn, quick effect, you can attach a material from this card, target a spell or trap on the field, and destroy it. So this is just a way to kind of interrupt your opponent even more than the Harpies themselves do. But yeah, overall the deck did pretty well. It did what it was supposed to do. Did pretty well. Definitely not complaining with how it performed. Like I said, I think I'm going to cut the Triangle Ecstasy Spark for a second copy of Elegant Egotist. Just so that way it can be a little more aggressive. But overall, it's a fun deck to play. It's really fun. Nice artwork. Fun play style. Especially when you get to drop Featherstorm on your opponent. Like, I literally drop Featherstorm on my opponent every single game. Now, to be fair, some of that was because I happened to hard draw the Feather Duster. But other times I had to search with Hysteric Signs. So the fact that I was able to do it basically just about every single game is really, really fun. You know, it kind of gets on their nerves. So that's really fun. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Like, subscribe, vote in the locals poll, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time.